is a cofactory. It's basically a co-working space for factories. It's a service for manufacturing companies that want a greater level of control than what outsourcing gets them. But at the same time, they don't want to have their own factory. So a cofactory takes the best of both worlds. It gives you sort of the ease of outsourcing and gives you the control of having your own factory. Most of the time outsourcing works okay. The problem is that when it doesn't, it can have very dire consequences for the company in a way that other processes that are outsourced usually don't. I mean, if you outsource your payroll or office management, you can change supplier. But changing a manufacturing supplier takes a long time, and you may be facing some legal battles in a foreign country, in a foreign language. And there's always a risk that the supplier may just stop making your product, in which case you may be out of business. It's with outsourcing manufacturing, you're in a way in a sort of a hostage situation with your supplier. Usually it's not that bad. They don't stop making your product. That's quite rare. But many suppliers know this, and they push the boundaries, which can lead to delays. But the biggest, most common problem is quality fade. Quality fade is a phenomenon in manufacturing where the quality of the factory output deteriorates over time. It sometimes happens, and it happens because the supplier is starting to sort of push the boundaries on your agreement. They cut corners to make more money, basically. And they do that by reducing the quality testing, or they can start replacing certain parts with cheaper alternatives. And usually it's not the centerpiece of the product that they replace. It's often peripheral parts, such as the packaging, for example. And when you discover this as the customer, you call up your supplier and say, wait, what's going on with these flimsy packages that you have? Now the tension begins, right? And the supplier goes, well, the prices are kind of going up, and the supplier, you don't want to work with them anyway. This new one is much better. The obvious reason is, of course, that the factory wants to save costs, but fundamentally, I think of it as a clash of business models, where the customer and the factory want different things. Now, the customer wants their product to be just so. They need a certain quality, a certain cost, and a certain delivery time, and only then does it work with the rest of their business. But the factory, though they want to honor that because they want to retain you as a customer, their only real incentive is to cut the cost. They get no extra points for improving the quality or delivering faster, for example. And we have that mismatch in a business relation. The customer is left having to sort of guard the agreement. And that could often be a lot of effort in factory visits and legal fees, etc. So the idea with outsourcing is that you don't do the work, but in outsourcing manufacturing, you're still left with a lot of effort. It's not quite as much as running your own factory, but outsourcing manufacturing still is not a great solution. Well, quality fade does not exist with LeWorks because we have no incentive to reduce quality testing or replace parts, for example. Of course, we offer a sourcing service, and we constantly help our customers find cheaper and better parts, but we get no extra points for replacing them without their consent. We don't sell a product, we sell a service. And when you sell a service, it's like being a waiter in a restaurant. You're only successful when the customer is happy. The customer is responsible for the production line, and we, LeWorks, do everything we can to help them succeed with that. We provide the space, the staff, equipment, furniture. We have sourcing services. We set up and we run their local company. We help them with logistics, whatever is needed. They can work with us like an OEM, except with complete transparency and control. So the production line managers report directly to the customer. We can also provide ODM services. We have an R&D lab near the factory, And we have a vast network of experts that we can bring in, R&D staff that can come in and improve a product. The customer is also welcome to sit in both the R&D lab and of course in the factory if they want to. The first factor we have is electronic assembly, IoT products. It doesn't have to be, it could be a lamp, it could be a bookshelf. The key is that it's assembly work. And so we don't do like plastic injection work or metal stamping or something like that. However, the factory is located in Changzhou, which is a city near Shanghai in the Yangtze River Delta, and that's one of the most industrial areas in the world. So we're surrounded by an enormous amount of suppliers, and our sourcing agents know them, and they do factory visits and video films. So whatever is needed, we will find that. We're working on a few other flavors of LeWorks, but it's a bit too early to talk about. The first thing we do is a pre-study. Together with the customer, we figure out exactly what they need. In this work, we may include some experts. It could be manufacturing engineers, sourcing agents, IP lawyers, whatever is required. And then we come up with a suggestion, and that includes what staff to have, equipment, and the layout of the factory, and of course the price. Our pricing model is that of like a consultancy company. So you basically pay for the staff. And with each staff comes a certain amount of space and a budget for equipment and furniture. Should the customer need more than that, we will, for example, like an assembly robot or some specific type of machinery, we will buy that and then we will lease it to the customer. In the third step is when we set up the actual factory. We recruit the staff, we get the equipment, and we build the factory itself. And this we do inside our larger factory. And we set up walls and lockable doors for the customer, so they have their very own factory. And then you're good to go. Well, works means factory. It's like steel works. Le is kind of international. In Chinese, it means happy. And if you combine le and works, it sounds a bit French, like LeWorks. I thought it was funny. And besides, the domain name is pretty good, le.works. So that's why it's called LeWorks.